Namaste everyone, and welcome to the Trannabis Kitchen. It has been quite some time and I am so excited to be here with all of you. I am still healing from COVID and yet we are pressing on because I have an amazing guest. It is season 2, episode 2 here on the Trannabis Kitchen. We are back in LA after some time being away and I have Chef Sebastian Carosi here. Going to be on in just a few minutes, and I am super excited to celebrate New Year's Eve with all of you. Happy holidays, Happy New Year. We are going to be making 2 different kinds of infused fondue. We are each doing our own thing. I have no idea what Chef is doing, and I am so excited to talk about all the things. Before we get started, let's go over what I'm going to be doing. This is going to be a gluten-free and a dairy-free recipe. I haven't made fondue since I was probably this big, and I've yet to make fondue that was really this healthy in terms of allergens. But this is a recipe that I have downloaded as of yesterday, and we are going to dive right in. We've got 3 cheeses. One that we are doing ourselves. We're going to make a cashew cheese base. We're going to start by boiling and simmering that with some vegetable broth. We are going to sprinkle in some dairy, vegan-free, gluten-free, lactose-free, soy-free, all the free Parmesan, and we are going to have some diet cheddar as well. We are going to put in a healthy quantity of nutritional yeast for that nutty flavor, for that extra pack of cheese. We are going to have a little bit of organic, raw, unfiltered honey. We are going to, instead of having wine, we are adding the vegetable broth as well as some apple cider vinegar. We are going to put ground cloves and ground turmeric and ground ginger and ground cumin and black pepper and Himalayan pink rock salt because we want this to be anti-inflammatory and absolutely delicious. I'm not using any other raw ingredients except for our fixings. I am, of course, going with mushrooms because if you stick around here, you're going to find out why mushrooms are so important. Got some baby bellas and some white mushrooms. Guarantee it will not be remotely as exciting as what Chef has. I've got a persimmon, which is in season, and I have some broccoli. And so that is what I'm going to be dipping in, and then dipping into my very one and only Fruit Slābs. Shout out to Fruit Slābs who are sponsoring on my end. This is a vegan, gluten-free, kosher-certified organic fruit leather that comes in many flavors. They have THC products, they have CBD versions, and you can go to fruitslabs.com to learn more. We are working with the Tropical Haze, which has a mango puree and is going to bring a bit of sweetness to this experience. So with that, we are going to take a moment, as I often like to do, to really just send gratitude and love into our ingredients, our food, right? Our one form of medicine, and of course our plant medicine. And this is something you can do at home, whether you want to refer to it as a prayer or just connecting, totally your prerogative. But this is something that I like to do to make sure that I'm creating connection with this medicine, as I'm also connecting with my guides who are helping to create this nutritious and delicious meal. Thank you so much, Plant Spirit, for being here, for healing and supporting, bringing joy and health and abundance into the new year, along with all these ingredients. So grateful to have the abundance of this opportunity to bring you education and entertainment in a way that is ending the stigma of cannabis and breaking your fear of food through the intuitive spiritual lens of the self. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful. Namaste. And so it is, my friends, it is time to bring on our very special guest. And I seriously, if we were in a live audience, you would be standing ovation. Let's bring on the absolutely brilliant Chef Sebastian Carosi. And we're going to bring you on both of them. Here we go. Here's step 1. And bringing you onto Instagram. All you have to do is approve that. And welcome, everyone. Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Namaste, Chef. How are you doing?
Good day. What's going on, my man? It's going good.
Super excited.
So you just let me know when we do the IG thing and we're ready to link up and we'll get going. I really appreciate you having me on.
It's an honor to have you. We actually have so much in common, and I'm just like, the list of questions that I have for you are so big. But we are connected. We're here, Instagram, we're everywhere, and I would love for you to introduce yourself to everyone who do not know you and tell us what you're making.
My name is Chef Sebastian Carosi. I'm better known as the short order cannabis revolutionary in this new and exciting budding industry that we've all been hiding in the closet about for also so many years. A little bit of history about me. I'll try to wrap it up and then tell you a little bit about the dish. But I am a former pot prisoner. I'm almost 50 years old. I did 6 years in the Washington State Penitentiary behind 32 pounds of cannabis. It gave me a lot of, well, I'll just be really honest. It gave me a lot of PTSD being a 17-year-old child going to prison for pot. So when we talk about mushrooms later, we'll talk about all the benefits of mushrooms, including the psilocybin therapy that we can delve into. And that was one of the huge things for me, getting my head right after you're a 17-year-old having gone to prison behind a plant. And it's really weird that we go to a prison for a plant like this. So I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate you giving me a platform. For those that don't know, you can find me everywhere in the cannabis industry. But it's really cool to be on something like Jamie's got going on because it's a little bit more direct market for me. And I don't sell things, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. I stand behind products, but I don't sell shit. I'm not here to sell you the magical butter machine or the heightened sifter, or they're actually $5.99 if you want. No, I'm just joking. But I'm not here to sell you any of these things. I'm just here to let you know that I use these things to create a cannabinoid-based pantry so that I can reach into my pantry at any time and pull out something that's infused, whether it be vanilla, whether it be olive oil, rapeseed oil, just regular oil, you know, whatever we want to do. And I also want to tell people, Jamie, that it's highly important for me, for them to know that I cook with cannabinoids in a lot of different forms. I cook with raw cannabis. I cook with kief. I cooked with cannabis pollen, the hemp seeds, cannabis seeds, the oil from those seeds, you know, as many ingredients as we can extract out of the plant. And I don't mean heavily chemically extracted out of the plant, but just extracted out of the plant so that we can have to make our things for our home pantry, you know. And I should have said this, Jamie, but welcome to our small Portland, Oregon apartment in the middle of nowhere and to our farm table. Thank you again for having me.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure. And I resonate with you a lot.
Totally. So the dish that you're making and the dish that I'm making is fondue. I noticed that you were going to go a little gluten-free on yours, and we're not gluten-free in our household, and we usually eat this as a dinner. We make it on the camp trail. We make it when we're camping. So it's like, it's kind of regular in our household, not regular like it should be, according to Carla, but enough regular. So we eat ours with like heirloom apples. We eat ours with persimmons if they're in season, with bread, of course, sourdough, local sourdough bread, just a good old crusty loaf. And also, where I learned fondue at, actually my family's from northern Italy, and our fonduta is a little different there. It actually contains cream and egg yolks, which the Swiss don't do. And I kind of like the Swiss version better because of the lack of cream and egg yolks with my cheese. I'm good with just the cheese. So mine's going to be real simple, simple. I'm sure just like yours is, and be delicious as all get out, you know?
1,000%. I love that. And I like the Swiss version. That's
totally.
Definitely my preferred.
So you named off all your ingredients earlier.
I did. Would you like to name off yours?
Yeah, I'm going to go real simple. And I did, this one's simple. It's 8 ounces of Gruyere, 8 ounces of Swiss. And if you're wondering what the difference is, like Emmentaler, Jarlsberger, Gruyere, there's a bunch of different Swiss-style cheeses. A lot of them just have a little different taste. Another thing that I got is simple cornstarch, 1 peeled garlic clove. I've got a little nutmeg, a little dry mustard, a little special cannabis pollen, raw cannabis pollen shaken off of the male plant. It's loaded with not only protein, vegetable-based protein, but a bunch of different terpenes and things. And I wanted to add that so that I could show people the difference between the kief, and I got the heightened sifter over here that I'm going to use in a second. It only takes 30 seconds to run a batch of kief in here. And this bowl of Mountain Hood Magic that I got is actually frozen weed. And I'm going to do this real quick just to get us going so I got some extra kief. I'm going to turn this bad boy on in about 5 seconds. And this is going to make Chad real happy. My boy Chad out there at heightened sifter. Sorry about the noise. We got to get kief to this recipe. You know what I'm saying? And it's 30 seconds. And the good thing is that once I get the kief, I'm going to sift it out of there with a little handy brush, and I'm going to decarboxylate it in a little decarboxylating box of magical butter. You can have a gram of this kief in here. You can have a half gram. You can have basically however much kief you're going to get or use to decarboxylate at one time to put it in here. And that the machine is done. You know what I'm saying? And the amount of kief, and I got a small amount of kief out of this one because I only ran a little bit, but I know you probably can't see it, but I'm going to put it down there. I just used the brush to get it out of there. But that's some really nice kief down in the bottom of there. You know what I'm saying? Here, I put it to the middle of it so you can see it. But I put this kief basically from this flour that I got from Mountain Hood Magic, a little bit of local. Put it in the decarboxylation box and decarb it. Depending on what strain it is really dependent on my decarboxylation. And by decarboxylation, I just mean activating those chemicals that are available so that our body and our endocannabinoid system can really get them and take them in. And I want people to know that the kief is the accumulated trichomes of resin glands that contain hundreds of terpenes and cannabinoids. It's what we're looking for. And here's the good thing about kief, is that kief is solventless. You saw me. I just got a half gram of kief out of there, decarboxylated, and then the difference in the decarboxylated kief is a little different in color. And you'll notice it's got a nice nutty aroma, and you'll also notice a lot of piney aromas too. So it looks like you're kicking ass on making this fondue, and I feel behind now.
You are not behind, I promise, Chef, because the way it's staggered, you'll have time to answer question and cook. I'm prepping because I'm about to nail you with a bunch of questions, and I have to pay attention to what you're saying. So,
I got it. So another important thing that I had cornstarch up here, and I want everybody to know if you're going into the grocery store and you're looking for cornstarch, and you can start looking for non-GMO or non-genetically modified products to cook with, and they have them available, and they're only a few more pennies than the one that is genetically modified. Shoot for it. Go for the non-genetically modified thing. We're all learning that about our cannabis, even though all cannabis, other than the land-raised strains, has been genetically modified in some way. Generally, it's some dude in the closet with a tube of pollen like this, full duplex. If you're out there, you know where this pollen came from, you secretive guys out there. In the closet, you know, making new strains and cultivars that are really tailored to our medicinal needs, you know. So as you're going, I'm going to take this 1 clove of garlic that I have, and I'm actually going to rub the inside of my skillet. I got a coated enamel skillet right here, and I'm just going to rub the inside of the skillet with the garlic so that the oils, the essential oils, the smells, aka the terpenes, just like what's in the cannabis, is going to get all in. The allium terpenes are going to get all in the pot, just so it smells. And I don't want to leave any pieces of garlic in there because the ladies of Switzerland and the ladies of anywhere up north, they'd freak out if they got a big old piece of garlic in their mouth. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, 100%. So backing up a little bit, that sifter is epic. I definitely want one, and we'll be reaching out to Titan because that was like a dream to watch.
Excuse me. Sorry, I'm coughing into the microphone. Just before we started, I took a huge dab. But like I was going to say, Chad, my man in Heightened, he put a lot of work into this to have it available for us at home that are cooking with cannabis. Excuse me. Like I took another big hit, but I didn't. To have available to us the abilities to trace our medicinal products, i.e. the cannabis and cannabinoids, all the way down. So if you grow your own, you keep your own, you make your own products, tends to make things a lot easier. I'm going to turn this burner on of mine, and I'm going to get going on the heating the wine. And this is just a German, fruity German wine, actually semi-dry, fruity. It's a Gewürztraminer. And those of you that don't like alcohol can use something else. You can use mushroom broth. You can use anything like that. The other liquid that's in here is the fresh squeezed lemon juice. And this bowl.
Even it's simple. It doesn't need to be complicated. That's another thing. Fondue is not meant to be complicated. It's meant to be cheesy and delicious. And it's fun. It's super fun and super social, much like cannabis is, which is part of why they go well together. While you're doing that, Chef, if you can share with everyone what, and I would like to know more of what your cannabis story is, and then I would love you to weave that in to your cooking story.
So I was 17 years old. I was exposed to cannabis through my father, who was a cannabis user. My mother and father cannabis users early on in my life, when I was too young to know what it was about. As I got older, I saw how it was. My dad was in the medical industry, held down a really good job. My mom was in the medical industry and went on to be in the nuclear energy field. And so they both held down really good jobs, and I saw that their cannabis use was, well, nothing was happening to them like the government said. You're going to lose your job. You can't succeed. You can't do this. You can't do that. Bunch of bullshit. So I thoroughly enjoyed cannabis use. And I wanted to, let me get this thing started. And I wanted to include cannabis use in my diet, not only edibly, but my consumption. I wanted to be able to smoke cannabis because of the way it made me feel. So I started smoking cannabis, and my parents were divorced, so I got to move to some cool places on both of their ends. And I was exposed to, my dad was a grower, and my dad had weed, so I really got exposed to seeing the plant around and him still carrying on his job and living normally and succeeding. So I saw that there was some money involved with cannabis when I moved up here to the Pacific Northwest, and I realized that the pounds were at that time about $5,000. And so as a kid, I glommed onto the aspect of smuggling cannabis through the Puget Sound to other folks, and I got caught because I was a dumbass kid, and I was in a boat, and I always thought I was fishy and doing cool, and some of you that grew up with me probably know this. I got caught, and I had to do prison time. As a 17-year-old, I went to the penitentiary, and I didn't have a good time. But I thought it crazy that I went to prison for a plant, and then everything went good. I got out of prison, went to culinary school. I went to work for some influential people at the time. One was the Bush family, George Bush, the president of the United States. And 3 days a week I worked for him. And then 3 days a week I worked for President Sarkozy of France, who owned a McMansion. And when I say McMansion, I mean like $40 million McMansion on the other side of Walker Point. This is in Maine. This isn't in Washington, D.C. or anything. This is in Maine. So I was really weird. I was in prison 2 years earlier, now working for the president, cooking lobsters and smoking weed out behind the shack. So it was kind of a twisted world for me. And I kept my world quiet. I went on to a very, very, I like to call it, illustrious culinary career, cooking all over the country and all over the world. And then Martha Stewart was on an airplane, and she got busted for insider trading. And she had to go to prison. And so Martha got her 2 years, did her year in Danbury in Connecticut, and she got out of the penitentiary, and she started telling everybody, and she's like, everybody knew Martha Stewart had been to the penitentiary. So from that moment on, I quit hiding that I had been to prison, and I openly talked about it and said, you know what, this is pretty fucked up. I had to go to prison over a plant. It really sucks. So once Martha Stewart made prison cool, I started talking about it. But then I realized that it created all sorts of PTSD on me and as a 17-year-old walking into Walla Walla, Clallam Bay, McNeil Island, the state penitentiary or penal system here in Washington State, and just over a plan. So I came out and still cooked and continue to cook. And since the early 90s, I had had several run-ins with Jack Hare, and I know a lot of people say they know him, but you put the pictures on your Instagram page, that's real braggadocious when it's that old, you know what I mean? So I had to slap my picture of me and Jack, and that was like the 5th time I had spent time with Jack. He made a huge impact on my life with what he was doing to try to legalize cannabis. And he was coming out of the Bay Area. I lived in the Bay Area at the time. My parents still smoked weed. I don't know if my mom did, but my dad did, I know. So I kind of embraced the fact of all of my surroundings. A long time ago, in the early 90s, I was doing underground cannabis dinners in the back of restaurants when we closed, you know. We were always involved in finding wild psilocybin in the areas that we foraged mushroom from. So all the new fads that everybody's getting into, for me, it took me into a way of like, oh my goodness, this is all the shit I've been doing. I'm glad you guys jumped onto the bandwagon for your mental health. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 1,000%. I mean, first of all, thank you for sharing your story, especially about being incarcerated, and we are going to talk about that later, because I think it's super important to talk about. It's something that I make a point to bring into series of shows when it's relevant. But the fact that you took all that you went through and said, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to go for this, and I'm going to bring joy into my life, and I'm going to get back to the plant, and you came out, and now you bridged this beautiful gap that really never existed, right? In the mainstream modern world, it didn't exist to put cannabis and food together until more recently. But you are breaking these barriers and then coming into where you were located physically and being able to hone in on the mushrooms and bringing that in. I mean, it's very inspiring to me. It's something I'm very much interested in. And my biggest focus of that really just like hits home for me is that medicinal aspect. I have PTSD as well. I experience physical disabilities and ailments, autoimmune, et cetera, and these mushrooms and cannabis and cooking, this lifestyle has saved my life. So I really honor you doing what you're doing and being yourself and finding your path.
Appreciate that.
And your healing. Because it's important, and people need to hear these stories. I figured it out with the help of other people figuring it out.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I appreciate that. Seriously, Jerry, I do. I love seeing all of the other people that were kind of like condemning us and throwing us under the bus. Now are like, hey, can I get a bag of weed? Hey, can I get some microdoses? Hey, what's that psilocybin, you know? But I'm gonna say I mix the cornstarch with both of my cheeses, and I mix the cheeses in the bowl. I'm gonna add them to the warm wine and lemon juice and get this fondue started.
Yeah, I should probably catch everyone up since I haven't. So, I've softened up my cashews. I'm starting to actually just add more vegetable stock, and I'm starting to blend them together. I've already minced my fruit slab. Here, here we go. Already minced up my fruit slab.
The dry mustard and all that, and I'm gonna add the dry keef. Yeah, fruit slab, get it.
And here are my fruits and veggies, bite-sized and ready to rock. And we're soon going to start to add in the other cheeses. So we're caught up now. You actually left off exactly where I wanted you to go, which is with the mushrooms. So can you dive more into your mushroom story? And especially leaning into, of course, the therapeutic nature, but I think what's important to mention, as you've already started to, is the fact that whether you're cooking with mushrooms or whether you're cooking with psilocybin or consuming psilocybin, there's medicinal value across the board, kind of like how cannabis is medicinal across the board. Like, I love that you use the whole plant. So if you could go into your mushroom story and bring that into, of course, Camp Ruderalis, I would love to do that.
Totally. So I added a little bit of the keef that we decarbed to the soup, or not to the soup, to the fondue. I thought I was making soup for a minute. And I also want to say that an option to this is right now you could add a 1/4 gram of ground psilocybin mushrooms, whether they be the wild variety, like psilocybin azarescens, ovoids, cyanescens, or even lab cultured or home cultured penis envies or albino penis envies. And you could add a 1/4 gram of that in there right now. And basically, for 2 people, you're microdosing your meal. You don't even really have to cook with the mushrooms, but the therapy and the therapeutic value, because you get a microdose of a lot of different things, is highly important to feeding these things that we're looking for therapy for. And I want to say something about the keef. The recipe that I used, I didn't tell you about the amounts, but the keef that I used that was decarboxylated was a 1/4 gram. Now that's going to be eaten between 4 people. And I will tell you that that gram of keef, once it was tested out, the keef itself was only 270 milligrams of THC in the entire 1 gram. So if I split that after it's decarboxylated, it's not going to be a lot between 4 people, and it's not going to put you under. And you can even go less. Now remember, I didn't do a gram, which was 27% or 270 milligrams of THC. I did a 1/4 gram, which is 270 divided by 4. I don't 145, 100, so like 60 or 70 or 50 milligrams per serving. And with the psilocybin, you can do that as well. You really want to know what your dosage is when we do this, because we're not kids anymore. We're not doing it to get high. We're doing it for therapeutic reasons. So yeah, I would definitely recommend. And like Jamie's using mushrooms, I think maybe to dip into his fondue.
Mm-hmm.
By all means, if you can incorporate some kind of fungi, fungus, whatever you want to call it, into a meal of any kind, whether it be psilocybin or just culinary, do it. Because the value there is unbelievable, especially if people are vegan or vegetarian. The trade-off for, I would almost give up beans to eat different varieties of mushrooms, because there's so many different varieties people haven't had. And beans got so damn boring to me as a vegan that it was like, oh man, I gotta find something else. So yeah, I believe in incorporating all these things that we talk about and that make us Instagram famous, Jamie. I believe in incorporating them in little bits in every way possible into our diets. And I got to thank some of the guys out there that are foraging these wild mushrooms that are psilocybin based here in the Pacific Northwest. We're known for our psilocybin mushrooms around here. So to be able to have some of these wild psilocybin mushrooms available for me, I will be honest, part of the psilocybin therapy is going out and picking and foraging and finding these mushrooms. That is another, that's the thing that, for me, it's a huge part of the therapeutic aspects of the reason why I'm searching for psilocybin therapy. And I'm going to get some of my fixings ready. I'm damn near there, Jay. I'm with you. I'm going to cut some apples here right now, and then I'm going to cut some bread, and we can just sit and eat and chat and talk about this situation.
1000%. Yeah, I just added in all the rest of my ingredients. Gonna blend it up a little bit more, and very happy with how this is looking. And I'm gonna taste it super soon. But bringing it back, so you fell in love with mushrooms, and how did you get there to, I had to start Camp Ruderalis. And somehow I feel like Camp Ruderalis came before you contributed to the Fantastic Fungi Community Cookbook, correct?
Yeah, so realistically, a lot of people in the cannabis sector have a lot of conversations about indica and sativa, and they leave out the ruderalis or wild cannabis plant almost all the time. And autoflowers are becoming such a huge part of the cannabis industry that they can't be overlooked because they're taking people's crops that used to go 160 days or 150, I'm not a to 70 and 80 and 90 days to fruition. And they used to make fun of ruderalis. Oh, it's a skinny plant. It doesn't produce. It doesn't do any of that. All that shit's a lie now because what they've done is they've bred ruderalis naturally into whatever your favorite cultivar or strain is. So there's amazing autoflowers out there. And ruderalis kind of really took form around the wild cannabis and a way to immerse people into an experience revolving around psilocybin, cannabis use, health, wild foods, and just an immersion experience in parts, sometimes in their backyard, they don't even know it's there. So if we can educate them on certain things and show them certain things on what's in their backyard that revolves around cannabis and psilocybin and education about food, we're going to do it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And you just had your most recent one in November with the release of the Fantastic Fungi Community Cookbook. Would you like to talk about what happened, how you got into the book? And for those who don't know, a fantastic movie of Fantastic Fungi, I've seen it at least 3 times. For those who haven't, though.
It is something definitely that I would definitely view if you haven't taken a view of it. And if you have, watch it. You watch it 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 times. It really helped get the word out that there were all these benefits to mushrooms. You know, Louis Schwartzberg and Paul Stamets and Eugenia Bone, they gave a platform to some of us that have been quiet and not had the means to. And Eugenia, she was selfless enough to actually make a community cookbook when she could have just wrote one herself. She's that much of a badass, you know? So for us, it was good for Carla and I to be able to work on it because it was a published cookbook. There were 5 recipes in there that are mushroom-based. And you can't beat that. I just want people to be able to eat mushrooms and incorporate these things in their meals and not feel apprehensive or scared about it, you know?
Oh, 100%. I mean, that's what it is. People are so afraid. They just decide, no, I'm not cook. And it's not everything is so complicated, and so much of it is about understanding nature and listening to your intuition. You know, that's part of why I love the fact that you're doing so much education in such a fun environment. Like, I'm pretty upset that I was away and not able to go.
Next year, you can come and forage all sorts of Azzies with us and all sorts of other mushrooms. You know, we had people like Conscious Collective. We got these guys like Daniel and Jordan, and we got these guys at Mycophyte, and these guys that are really like educating me because I don't know all this shit, and I don't claim to. I don't even use the Latin forms of mushroom names because I think that for me it does a little bit of separation between the people, the neophytes, and the people that are so-called professionals in a situation. I like everybody to be invited to the table. So when people start using terminology that seems almost elitist, it's like the food world. I put this chef coat on, and I'll tell you what, I don't usually wear a chef coat. I worked my last 15 years in the industry without wearing a chef coat because I wanted my dishwasher to feel like he was as equal to me as I was to him. And it helped me out a lot because the world doesn't get looked at through those eyes all the time. It gets like looked at like I'm so much better than you, and we're just the same people on the same damn rock doing the same damn shit. And that's another disappointing thing about this cannabis industry is that a lot of the information now is regurgitated information that's been out there that a lot of these legacy farmers, legacy growers, and people that really, like Ethan Russo, he did things in 1961, and people are like regurgitating the facts of that on Instagram like they're educated on it. And that's bullshit, man. You're not an educator. You're not there. And I appreciate the regurgitated or plagiarized information being pushed forward, but we gotta support each other in ways that make sense. It's like California's market is forgetting all about the legacy growers up in the Emerald Triangle, and that really sucks. And those are the things that socioeconomics and food to me come to elitist situations, and I can't stand it because I've eaten hot dogs that have cost me 9 cents, and I've eaten hot dogs that have cost me $9. A hot dog's a hot dog. And whatever situation I'm in, whatever hot dog I'm gonna buy. It's like so I try to, everybody's open and invited to our table without feeling condescended on with information, or like that I'm somebody that's going to educate somebody on something new. The plan has been around for thousands of years. And that's, we're just like I said, we're kind of just regurgitating the information in our own way to give it to people. And that's good, but don't take credit like you just separated the first terpenes or, cannabinoids or something. And that's, unfortunately, that's where the elitists come into play. So I just like to be grounded in the situation that I'm in. And I know a lot of people won't do this, but I like, on the apples that we dip in there, I like to grate fresh pepper on them. It gives them it's a nice little thing. So my fixings are really simple. I got broccoli, I got heirloom apples, I got smoked sausage, and I got sourdough bread. And then we got some really gooey fondue.
Good. That's looking super good. I agree with you, Chef. I left culinary school. I didn't even finish. I started cooking when I was 10, started training when I was 11, 12, 13, through a culinary program that was led by Drexel University's, which was at the time, top 3 school. And I went, started working in professional kitchens when I was 14 and catering companies, and then all the way through to 18. And then I got to culinary school, and I was just like, there are so many rules. And I also, by the way, was living as female at the time. I had not transitioned. So it was
a whole different situation.
It was a very different situation. I was surrounded predominantly by men. I felt objectified. I literally got marked off. I wasn't allowed to proceed cooking for a day because I had a male that was like shit. It was ridiculous, and I left and got into journalism, found my way through my health journey,
nice,
my cannabis journey, and my mushroom journey, and then the pandemic came, and I finally was well enough to start cooking again, and I basically literally needed to because everything was closed, right?
Yep.
And through that, I was tired of the inappropriate behavior in the kitchen. And to me, food is about nourishing people, it's about healing people, it's about joy, it's about laughter, living. And so is cannabis, and so is mushroom, and there's none of that.
So is life. That's what life is about, Jamie. All those places that you just talked about. And it's a shame that some people can't see past that. I joined this organization called Fair Kitchens because I wanted people on a bigger level to be able to try to make a difference and make their kitchens fair. Because I'm 50, so I actually was in those kitchens where it was far worse than the people that are in their 30s. It is far worse than the people know that are in their 40s. And I can't say that it didn't force me to be a certain way, that I had to realize and wake up and go, what the fuck am I doing? Why would I say or do or be or act like that in any way? So it's good now that mainstream can talk about things, because I don't care who, what, how, anything. If you come to me as a real, as an individual that's going to say, hey, you know, and you don't hide anything. I don't like the hidden parts where, like, hey, chef, I was late for work. The dog ate my homework. And it's like, fucking just tell me when to smoke a bowl and you'll be late. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
for me, a lot of being genuine really just goes over with me. I look past, and not look past, but like, I'm just amazed at the city. Like, I live in Portland, and our city is way different than when I moved here in the hippie days, man. And it's really, really weird. It was the most open city. It was smaller than San Fran, so everybody felt safe. And now it's just all, it's very, it's the, and I'm going to be honest, I'm not a political person, but the politics that have been happening in the country are like showing themselves in Portland, and it's making people act out and do stupid shit. And that, and I can't even be around that, you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. And you know what matters is the fact that you learned to make changes, and you chose to do that. And that's ultimately all that it takes, you know? But I want to back up a sec, or actually change trajectory slightly, because I have completed my fondue, and then I want to get into, there are 3 recipes in particular of yours I want to talk about.
Okay.
The recipes that you contribute to the cookbook, and I am obsessed with oysters, and you created the naked oyster with dirty water, and when I saw that, I almost wept.
You got to do me a favor. I don't mean to cut you off, but seriously, we live on the same coast. I really, really, really want you to take a trip up north and hang out with Carla and I for a while, and some friends of ours. They actually own an oyster farm, and it's where we just held one of the Camp Ruderalis events. But man, if you come and hang out, we can pick wild oysters off the ground on the beaches and eat as many of them as we want in any way that we want. And you can sit there right on the Hood Canal, and it happens to be right on, it's Olympic Oyster Company, and I know they don't care if I say it. And it's the oyster farm is actually about 600 yards on the other side of the Hood Canal, where I was busted with 32 pounds of cannabis in a boat. That's ironic. So that you come up and hang out with us, and we'll talk oysters and mushrooms, and we would love to have you, Jamie. I hope you know that.
Oh, I'd be honored.
So,
oh yes, we do have a bit of an echo, I'm hearing. Titan Sifter.
Can I shut off the microphone on your Instagram? Because that's what they're getting.
You don't need to. All you need to do is lower the volume on the other device.
Lower the volume on the other device. Yeah, the computer.
Okay.
Jamie's on top of that shit.
Yeah, this happens all the time. Do not worry.
Good. Now I just hope I can hear you.
Yep. See? Yes. You can hear me.
Yep.
There you go. Problem solved. I've just finished my molten lava fondue.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's exactly how I wanted. I'm gonna be testing it out in a moment here and seeing how some things taste. And I'm going to be dipping it into my fruit slabs, and it's going to be awesome. But let's first dive into, how did you choose the recipes that you chose to feature in the book? And please let everyone know what these recipes are, because they excited a lot of people. You got a lot of good press around these recipes at very different places. So I want like all the details.
So those recipes are actually all wicked old recipes that I've used over the years. The only one that's really new is the sriracha chanterelles, and I just got so bored with the way I was pickling chanterelles for the past 20 years, I started changing the flavor of the pickling liquid. But like the black bean and huitlacoche soup, it's been with me for a long time. The using huitlacoche or corn smut, not a lot of people do it. And as a chef that's into wild things, that's what I really wanted, was to let people come to a restaurant and not experience broccoli. We all got broccoli at home. I want them to come to a restaurant and experience a wild green, a nettle, a plantain, something different, something that they can experience different. So in the mushroom world, I used to have a lot of friends that were Hopis and lived on a reservation in Arizona, and Navajos as well. And they all grew corn, and they all had corn smut or huitlacoche that infected, a fungus that infected their corn. And as a chef, I had heard about it and was like, oh my goodness, So I like ingredients that get people excited without them having to be elitist ingredients, like truffles. It's truffle season right now here in Washington State, and I sell truffles, but I'm also just a normal dude that goes out and hunts truffles. So the truffles that go to the elitists that are paying $800 a pound for them, those foods are actually coming from, lobsters come from the fishermen that don't have a lot of money. Truffles come from poppers and people that don't have a lot of money. So all the elitists, it's funny how they glom onto these ingredients that are so monetarily driven so they can show them off, you know what I'm saying? And it kind of sucks. So I like to use those things to celebrate the people that are behind them, the mushroom hunters, the corn growers, the farmers, the foragers. I don't want to exploit those people. I want to let you know that those people are out there. So this is probably the only journey I stay on. And the book, the recipes, here, let's put it like this. I think there were like 1,400 recipes submitted for the community cookbook. And I think I got 5. I got the most put, and I'm not bragging about this, y'all. And if Eugenia or Louis,
you should be.
I got 5 recipes in the book, which is the most out of the entire mushroom community. Some people got 1, 2. Eugenia actually has 5, and she's the editor and kind of put this whole idea together. She's written many books about mushrooms. She's what I consider a mycologist. Somebody that is really into the Latin terms and all the knowledge behind it. It's like the cannabis world took a shift when the strain names got so far out of hand, we didn't know what the hell we were smoking. And, pretty soon you're walking into a dispensary and saying, hey, what kind of bubble gum you got? And that's kind of sad because a lot of people don't know it. The Monsanto tattoo that I have, the Down with Monsanto, Monsanto has copyrighted 8,000 cultivars of cannabis yet, and nobody's talking about it. They own them.
Whoa.
They own the zucchini that's in your grocery store. And nobody talks about that. Like, they physically own the genetics behind these things, and the weed too. So a lot of things, I know I mentioned the legacy farmers, I mentioned land-raised strains. A lot of this terminology that I use, I hope it sparks interest in people in the newfangled weed world and green rush and what I call greed rush, because most of it's money-driven, not cannabinoid-driven. I really hope that they see past some of the bullshit and can sit down and eat some medicated fondue. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah, I'm crushing my fondue right now. It tastes absolutely awesome. That's amazing. 5 recipes, nothing to sneeze at, and I think the food speaks for itself is one thing to say, but to me, the mark of a chef is an artist. It's someone who understands and cares with all that they have, all their passion into their ingredients and what they're doing, that they're not just handing you a plate, that they're handing their heart. And I believe that you do that. I believe that that's something that you stand for, and that's, you know, 20,000 reasons to love you. I would want, can you just dive into the naked oysters and dirty water? How did you decide? I'm just blown away. I mean, you have multiple infusions in there between the sugar and the rice wine vinegar. I was like, this guy is a scientist. Like,
so,
how did you figure this out?
I'm glad that you noticed all those infused items, Jamie, because that really like brings us back to the point of having that well-stocked cannabis pantry. You know, anything that's an acid. You know, a lot of people were like, "Oh, if you use wine and try to infuse it in the magical butter machine, you won't get, it won't have all the cannabinoids won't be there and all this stuff." But this machine right here is made it. This is only I think a $200, and I got a promo code I know somewhere that'll help people get money off of it. But like I said, I don't try to sell anything. I use this thing. So you can put the wine for this recipe into the magical butter machine and actually put decarb cannabis in there and infuse the wine. The wine's got an acidity level to it. It's acidulate. I hate to get all smart like that, but don't ask me the Latin name of a chanterelle because I won't be able to tell you. So the acidulated liquid and cannabinoids, it's just like alcohol. It's just like oil. But yeah, we found out fats are way better to attached to cannabinoids when we extract them. But that doesn't mean if you put vinegar in here, there's not going to be any cannabinoids in it. There's going to be lots of cannabinoids in it, just by not all of that you need. So when you have that pantry full of items, you now have infused sugar, and I don't recommend people using a lot of white sugar. You need to stay away from that shit. You've got vanilla. You've got, you know, you can even infuse salt. You can infuse anything. But the reason why I use the different items is that so if one is not full spectrum, when I put the other ones into the situation, it bumps that level up to full spectrum. And it gives me different levels of cannabinoids and flavonoids and terpenes. And a lot of people just push to the side the terpene fact. But back in the day, they put lavender in everything that you can imagine for a reason. Because it was calming. It was linalool. Linalool is in there. So when you have weed that is really calming, the terpene profile of that cannabis might have a high linalool level, a low beta-carophylline level, a medium level of myrcene. You know, and all those things that I just named were found in nature. Myrcene in mangoes, beta-carophylline in black pepper. You know, so utilizing that, it's like an apple. Anything that you smell is a terpene. It's just like forest bathing, which I highly recommend. Go into the forest, look for mushrooms, and just take some deep breaths in, you know, and enjoy yourself and enjoy your day. And smoke some weed because it just heightens the amount you're going to enjoy your day. And it's super sad that they tried to take that all away from us back in the day. I remember back in junior high and high school, they wanted to try to diagnose me with like ADHD and give me Ritalin and shit like that. And I was just like, well, if I could smoke weed, everything would be different. But things were different, you know, and our parents would go to prison for letting their kid have weed until, you know, situations like Charlotte Kitchen came around and Charlotte Web, you know, you hear that story and you see somebody in full-blown epileptic seizure get a couple of RSO put on their tongue, and in 30 seconds or so they're snapped out of it. And you're like, whoa, what the hell was that? And are you okay? And, you know, and they're just like, oh, I've never felt better. What happened? You know, and it's like, that's the proof in medicine that a lot of people need. And I hope that food and clean cannabis consumption through food can lead us there in better ways. I hope that the dispensaries, pot shops, and all of these people that are, you know what's funny, Jamie, is gummy is actually a category in a store now. Gummy. You can go get a gummy to clean your bowels, a gummy to clean your teeth, a gummy for a headache, a gummy with cannabis in it, a gummy with CBD in it, a gummy with cereal in it, a gummy with soda in it. And it's like, what the fuck is people doing? We don't need more sugar vehicles for cannabinoids. Because, so back when I started all this, I thought that we pushed for legalization and recrealization under the auspices of medicines and medicinal benefits. So how do they put everything in sugar, in a cannabinoid in sugar, and expect us to do things that are making sense? So I hope that everybody kind of wakes up to the situation and just grabs on to, sees through the bullshit. That's all. And I hope, and I'm glad that you put a platform out there to help us do that. I really am.
I appreciate that. I mean, I completely agree. It's honestly like, I feel the same way. Like, Fruit Slābs does not pay me. I'm lucky enough to get Fruit Slābs. We collaborate because I love and believe in their product. There's no artificial sugar. There's nothing added. It's real fruit. It's real full spectrum cannabis. That's it. You know what I mean? Like, we don't need all these other things. And it's coming back to that medicinal look at our body. You know, I think a lot of people shy away when I say spiritual wellness. Some people are like, "Ooh, tell me more," and other people are like, I don't know what that means." Like, you know, because there's all this trauma in religion and things. I'm like, take a deep breath. Let me explain to you what I feel spiritual wellness is. Because to me, spiritual wellness is the wellness of all of you. That you have a body, a mind, and a soul. And it's not actually related, for me, to religion at all. It's about learning yourself and understanding that there's a connection. And that I personally believe there's nothing different from me and this cheese and this fork and my cannabis, my vape, because all of these things are atoms. They're all energy, and we are all energy, and it's all love. And so it's about unconditional self-love, because I believe that when we love ourselves unconditionally, we can love all else. And that's why I choose to heal and to heal myself. And so speaking of healing and supporting, you know, it is, of course, outrageous that you were incarcerated for this plant. It's happening still. People are starting to, on a level, get released, but we still, of course, have majority of people of color who happen to be incarcerated for any amounts of this plant. And a lot of them not violent. You don't take me as a violent person. And your life was marked by that. And so now we're starting to finally get people released, getting records cleared. For the average human being, so to speak, everyone is special, right? But average in terms of someone who is not in a high power legal position, who is not a 1%er, someone who genuinely cares and wants to do something. Because I find that what I hear a lot on this show, because I've had others who are actually quite a few now on the show, we've talked about this a lot. What I hear about is, well, there's not much for you all when you get out. Like, there's the whole world, but the resources and the support, so many people don't have that. So I would love if you would feel comfortable sharing what your beliefs are about what others can do for those who are coming out, to show support and actually be there to help them acclimating and getting their needs met. What are the things that you're seeing, or the things that you wish to be seeing, that can be done so that anybody who's watching this can take an action step?
I think that there's a lot of these third-party and second-party organizations that are getting in the way of a lot of things. It's like, my beliefs are this: if you want to feed the homeless, make some food and go out and feed them. Don't give it to a third party that's going to charge a situation to go give it to the people to put it in this and that. So I learned that a lot with Slow Food USA, because I was involved in the beginning. And then I saw how third-party situation was actually taking money away from the farmers that they were bragging about supporting. So when people like, you really have to, here's the thing. There can be as many support systems as that are going to be out there of every kind in the world. But if your mind isn't in a situation where it wants to get out of where you just were and not be trapped in that, and not be pigeonholed into a lifestyle or a group or anything like that, then you have to live like you want to live, how you want to live, and treat people right. And if you don't, expect to be treated like shit if you're treating them like shit. And if you don't expect to be treated back like shit, if you're treating people like shit, guess what? I got a whole bag of shit baggery that I'll gladly open up if you think that I'm just going to let you treat me like that for no reason. It's like I was making excuses, Jamie, earlier for the city of Portland. And I was making excuses for it because I used to love the city. I mean, outside of San Francisco, you didn't have to worry about your color, your creed, your sexual orientation, what church you went to, or anything like that. Now Portland is a very different story. And it sucks because we actually live here. Carla and I live in the Pacific Northwest where we live because we like it the way it used to be. So it really sucks. And so what I'm going to say is the outreach program for people that are getting out, the best outreach program you could have and rely on is the plan you got in your head to get where you want to go and the belief in yourself and the people around you that will take you where you want to go. And I don't mean writing letters to fucking Kim Kardashian and begging for lawyers' fees or anything. I mean like people say, if you want to get up and get something, get up and grind for it. And I did that for 30 years after I got out, 25 years after I got out of prison. I made sure that I was in a kitchen wherever the hell I was at, because other than eating mushrooms, psilocybin therapy, and consuming cannabis, being in that kitchen was part of my therapy as well. It's really weird how the world comes full circle, and you later in life become the mechanic that has the broken down cars in the front yard, or the chef that doesn't always eat the best, or so on and so forth. But if you know better, then do better, especially for yourself. Especially right after yourself comes others. So if you're walking down the street and you treat somebody like shit and they kick a mud puddle at you, you got to think about that. You know what I mean? So that's all I appreciate you saying that I don't seem like a person that's violent, because as a 17-year-old, when you go into the penitentiary, you got to be a boxer, a scrabber, or whatever. But I wasn't like that growing up. I was like playing baseball and, you know, riding my bike and jumping on my skateboard and skater hair and all that. So I didn't want them to pigeonhole me into being a racist or hating people or anything, because you get pushed into those situations when you get into that environment. And I didn't want to become something that I wasn't. So nowadays, I do a lot of staying to myself, because if somebody does act weird, nowadays they really don't even they don't even expect a response to it. And I'm not. First of all, if you're on the street and you're pushing down an old lady or an Asian old lady in our neighborhoods, I don't care if they're Asian or not. You're going to get me asking you what the hell you're doing. And it sucks, because it's going to put me into a bad situation one day, because the homeless folks here who I used to feed regularly now pack guns and commit a percentage of the crimes. So I've even gotten jaded of how we direct our funds, Carla and I especially, for feeding the homeless, because I don't want to feed somebody right now that's going to be robbing my neighbor. So I've become jaded over the situation of what's happened, and I just kind of stayed to myself more, and not so much out into the world of, hey, you know, everybody, we used to be at every event, every conference, every expo, every hemp fest, you know, and it's gotten to be where I pick and choose those things. And I'm sorry that I'm like that, and I pick and choose those things now, but I didn't make me do that, you know?
Yeah, well, you're choosing what's best for you. And I understand that. I used to go to all events as well. I mean, pandemic aside, it's been a while since I've really been at something sort of big. So I hear you, and I appreciate what your vulnerability and what you're saying and where you're coming from, and just this like bare minimum of kindness, you know, of being kind and loving to your neighbor, and just being aware of what's happening and around you is you know, powerful. And I agree. you know, without listing any names, I'm very concerned as well about what I see with the different organizations that are here to support those who've been incarcerated due to cannabis. And I don't know, I'm worried. So I hear what you're saying. And, you know.
But Jamie, you are a bright light, and you can tell. And that's the good thing. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of bright lights outshine that dark shit, and that's the best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. There's many bright lights out there, yours and Carla's included, and I'm super excited that we can, you know, brighten up the world with this episode, and I'm sure that we will have more together, and I look forward to all of our mycelium and cannabis culinary adventures. I actually haven't even been to the Pacific Northwest yet. Like, not.
What?
I'm from New York, Carla. I'm from New York. I've only lived in LA for less than 5 years. I'm about to hit my 5-year mark. But you need to understand that when I got here, I was practically bedridden, and then I was working overnight consulting at the Trevor Project, and then not consulting, excuse me. I was doing counseling, and then through that, I was simultaneously getting into cannabis and going through my transition. And then we had a pandemic. So it's been a very interesting experience getting to LA. And I just haven't had the opportunity to get up north. But I'm having more and more reason to connecting with the wonderful people in the community. And yeah, I mean, foraging for truffles, and mushrooms in general has been like a lifelong dream practically at this point. And it's something I would love to do with all of you. Wrapping up, please show us. I have not seen you eat it. Please show us your fondue and let us know how it is. I can't have another bite, but I'm going to have more cannabis because we should all be smosting to this 2022. That looks amazing, man. I want to wrap that around me, but it's incredibly lava hot, so probably not. But I mean, that looks so freaking good. And I wish you all the best, everyone. Healthy, happy, abundant new year. 2022 is going to be what we all make it. We cannot continue to wait for things to happen for us and sit around unhappy. We have love and light and people in the world who are on board. Ask for help. My DMs are always open. Chef Carosi, please remind everyone where they can find you.
Yep.
You want to remind them where they can find you on social media?
Oh, yeah. You can find me on Instagram. It's probably the best way to find me on Chef_Sebastian_Carosi.
And what is the most helpful to you place for people to purchase Fantastic Fungi Community Cookbook?
So here in about a week or two, you can find it on our Camp Ruderellis website, but you can also go to Simon & Schuster and Amazon. Not that I condone giving Jeff Bezos any more damn money, but it is available on that site. And I think they were running a special for Christmas. I think they were only like $24 or something. That might have went away, but if you wait a couple of weeks until they get on my site, I'm not going to be charging that big amount.
Sounds like you've heard the tip first, everyone. And do you have a date yet for the next Camp Ruderellis?
So Carla and I were actually talking about it over the past couple of days, and we're securing locations as we speak. We want to do about 12 events this year, this coming up year. The year changes in 2 days. We want to do a little bit of some smaller events and even a couple of bigger events than the 300-person event that we had. But we do know that right now we're trying to talk to the Telluride Mushroom Festival in Colorado to be able to set up a table and do some cooking demos and sell the book there because a lot of the contributors actually go to the Telluride Mushroom Festival. And I got a friend that's got a cannabis farm down there. So we're going to do maybe 2 events down there and then bring everything back up here to the Pacific Northwest. But I've been begged to come and do something back out east. So we're putting stuff together.
Well, please keep me posted. I'm like super excited to get involved one way or another and have the full-blown experience. It sounds like a blast. Thank you so much for your time. And Carla, thank you for helping and filming. I know you're in the kitchen, and I really look forward to having you more. Please, everyone, go and follow Chef Carosi. Seriously, check out Camp Ruderalis and the cookbook. I can't wait to have it myself, and I'm really looking forward to seeing, you know, what I can do with the recipes that you put in there. So sending you all so much love and light. We will be back, I'm assuming that my health is going to continue to improve. Into next week, we will be back. I'm not going to let you know who's going to be the guest because it is a surprise, but trust me, it is going to be super fun. It will be the first of the new year, and you're going to want to be here, 7 p.m. Pacific time, wherever you're watching this. The pre-show is at 6 p.m. Pacific time, if that is something that you're interested in watching, where we go over the ingredients and kind of the little layout of what's going to happen for the day. But honestly, please go and follow Chef Sebastian Carosi, the legend. I'm so excited that you chose to do the show with me. I'm going to be like living this moment in my mind for a while. So I appreciate that. Brother.
I really appreciate it, Jimmy.
Namaste,
thank you for having me. And I'll see y'all later. Have a wonderful New Year.
Be well. Happy New Year, everyone, and happy holidays.